Going over to the cultural part podcast, you have a Ukrainian refugee. Her life was taken when she moved to the United States and took the public transport. And it's been going viral all week. I kind of debated if I wanted to cover the topic. I hate the idea of kind of making money on tragedies and doing clickbait. And I debate if I should even cover it at all. Granted, I mean, making money off of this, I'll make 5 cents on YouTube, given my statistics on how many people view the show. But nevertheless, it gives me uneasy moments. I didn't talk about it when the news first broke out. Now, this is brought to us thanks to End Wokeness. And yeah, in true cliche fashion, mainstream media ignored it completely. And this is a gal who's literally Ukrainian refugee, can't pronounce things today. And she thought she'd be safer going from the war zone to the United States, where, yeah, it's actually more dangerous in the United States than in a war zone. Now, and Wokeness says, quote, 0 AP stories about this deadly attack, 0 PBS stories about this deadly attack, 0 New York Times stories on this deadly attack, 0 NPR stories on this deadly attack, 0 Wall Street Journal stories on this deadly attack, 0 BBC stories on this deadly attack, 0 CNN stories on this deadly attack, 0 Washington Post stories on this deadly attack, 0 Reuters stories on this deadly attack, 0 MSNBC stories on this deadly attack. Which, now let me put that on the main screen here. Appreciate the feedback as always. Someone let me know that it was a little distracting to have my eye look to the side where I usually have my reference materials, so that's why I put them in front. Appreciate the tip, Chris. And yeah, he was a very large African-American man, and it's frozen here, and he is a petite white, or obviously Ukrainian white gal there, and he just stabs her in the throat, and she dies. And there's no major media outcry. Interestingly enough, all the people, Democrats with the pro-Ukrainian flags in their bios, they're not speaking up either. And it's tragic, obviously. She came to try to better her life to the United States. And she came here because presumably it was safer. And I mean, she sat down on the 4th row of I believe this is a bus. And yeah, big old guy behind her. Turned out he'd been arrested 14 times before, 14 times, and every time leftist Democrat appointed judge, let him out. And again, Ed Krasenstein, wanting to look at some contrarian statements, he noted that, this guy served a couple years in prison as well. Yeah, clearly he was not rehabilitated. Clearly they just should have put him away for life, or, solve the problem permanently. Now, this went very viral, got 65 million views and 156,000 likes. One of the first comments come to us thanks to Gunther Eagleman, says, quote, imagine the media outrage had the races been reversed, getting 6.9 thousand likes, which, yeah, I mean, there'd be riots in the streets for months, probably. Someone by the name of Retard Takes has a picture of a screaming flower, says mainstream media when violent lunatics are in prison. Then the flower is all happy, says mainstream media when lunatics murder people, getting 824 likes. Amelia Henderson says, quote, they simply hate white people. It's a very popular meme where it's like a bumper sticker on a railroad, or not a rail, a rail. It says they don't hate racism, they hate white people, getting 1.2 thousand likes. She also says diversity really sucks, and is a picture that says diversity does not enrich culture, diversity dilutes and destroys culture, getting 831 likes. Paul Zupa says, quote, this won't change. Legacy media hates white people unless they have extreme right ideologies. It's terrible. Legacy media is already morally bankrupt. It can't go fiscally bankrupt fast enough, getting 1.9 thousand likes, which, given the lack of USAID, I do debate how many of these legacy media how many of them could really sustain their model much longer. Colbert Report is already being canceled because there's bleeding money, and I can't think most of them are at this point. Agency 2030 has a picture of Jesus smoking. He says, flooded again, in 1.7 thousand likes. Abhilash Singh says, hypocrisy of media. And so CNN news anchor says, BLM with the Molotov cocktail says, mostly peaceful protests. Anthony Palestinian says, diversity is our strength. And that's the police yelling at a British guy at the flag, says, far-right terrorists, getting 14,000 likes. I also have Donna Marie having she does not give any citations for this, but she has statistics, so take them with a grain or perhaps a spoonful of salt. And she claims that black males are 6.5% of the U.S. population, 94% cannot read proficiently at 18, 63% don't work full-time, 72% illegitimacy rate, 33% are convicted felons, 50% of the male population in prison, commit 60% of the murders, but white people, racism, and guns are the problem. They got 7.2 thousand likes. Now, CMM says this is why we can't trust the mainstream media. And this piece of shit who killed the girl mentioned 0 times at CNN. You have Daniel Penny, who saved a whole railroad car of people. Says top story CNN for months, getting 3.8 thousand likes. Now, let's see if this, it's not loading, but this is also credited to Libs at TikTok. She says, "Oh my God, no one even helped her as she sat there bleeding to death and sobbing," which it got 4.2 million views. I'm trying to see if there's a good still here, or a still image of the scene. Not so much, but this is going to be loading indefinitely. I swear sometimes X is as reliable as a Ford vehicle, which is saying something. Now, here's a cultural decay I think it's worth just noting in this video. I mean, not only this deranged lunatic out and about, thanks to activist judges, but no one around the girl helps. Now, this happened pretty quick. And again, the guy was sitting behind her. Unfortunately, she was more towards the front of the vehicle. And yeah, there's 5 people around her. I believe 4 of them are male. One of them is large enough where she could maybe look like a male. I know it's a gal, but they all do nothing, including after this girl was stabbed and bleeding out. I can't think there's a lot of parallels to cities where it's all about looking, well, not every person that lives in a city, but it's a culture of looking after yourself, not really helping others. I mean, this would not happen in a small town for many reasons. One of which being the judges actually do their jobs there, put the bad guys in prison, presumably for a long enough time where they're never a problem, or they just take care of their problems so they are never a problem again. And yeah, all these people around her in the cart, not only do they not help prevent this, or, they see the guy standing up with a knife, none of them do anything, stabs her, and they just sit around doing nothing. One of them even takes time to just take pictures of the aftermath. A lot of people are saying, why didn't the guys do anything? Some people are saying maybe it's a race-related thing because people in the cart around the white gal, they're African American. I think it's more to do with the thing that we saw with Daniel Penny. They see that every time a good guy stands up and does the right thing, society punishes him. They take him to court. They get sued criminally and civilly. So we've had years of the good guys getting screwed over for doing the right thing. And we said this time and time again, eventually good guys will stop stepping up because there's no incentive. In fact, it's a perverse incentive mechanism where they simply get in trouble. Their lives are destroyed for doing the right thing. So of course, fewer and fewer people are going to do the right thing. That's why I speculate more of these instances will occur. A lot of people are saying, oh yeah, we need to get these activist judges be personally liable. Some Republicans say they're going to do that. Do I think they should? Yeah, but I'm also pretty skeptical of Republicans doing anything good because it's pretty damn rare. Now, going to the comment section for this, and this video is also credited to The Blaze. One of the first ones comes to us thanks to Brick Suit. He says, quote, "The other woman just walked away. What's wrong with these people?" At 2.7 thousand likes, which, that was a large gal on the left there. I also have Planet of Memes, a little disappointed. No memes or memes, yet again. So I'll just say this alleged Planet of Memes says, "What happened to humanity that we fail to help another human who is actively bleeding out?" Got 1,000 likes and a damn good question. And many states, again, 50 states, different rules, different cultures, many states have fixed the issue where years ago, there's a lot of instances where lawyers would get involved if someone were trying to help someone and they would be injured. One of the most cliche examples that is cliche for a reason, when you're giving someone CPR, if you do it properly, you might break one of their ribs because you're trying for not CPR on the Heimlich maneuver, as well as CPR. You're really trying to get them going again. And some people are getting sued after they're trying to help. Now, some states pass laws saying, hey, it's called appropriately enough, it's called a Good Samaritan law. If you're doing that in good faith to help the person, they can't sue you. So again, that used to be a contributing factor of why I think some people would not help others as often, but that's been fixed in many instances. So I don't know if that's the case here. You also have Paul Zuba saying, what the hell? Amelia Henderson says, quote, "White Lives Matter," getting 1.8 thousand likes. Jay says, "She could have been alive today if those lazy Fs tried to save her. How could anyone sit there and watch her get stabbed in the neck and then do nothing to help? This is infuriating. A bunch of lazy people decided to watch her bleed out to death. Unbelievable." Getting 417 likes, which I don't think they're lazy. I think they're evil. And or they're just so used to crime and death that they just don't care anymore. Which, again, cities, or as I pejoratively call them, shitties. Amelia Henderson also says, the society must be rotten when people watch death unfold and choose phones over saving a life, getting 71 likes. GC Eternia says the left doesn't see a criminal, they see a future voter and victim of the system. They are partners with in crime with societal decay. And there you can see, he was arrested, what was that, 14 times and let out? There's all of his mugshots Although I'm sure CNN will say he's a future engineer. Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that culturally and politically has changed. We used to have, back in the 90s, even Clinton, like even Democrats and Republicans together were really in favor of like the 3-strike system. 3 strikes, you go to jail. Personally, I think that's a little too lenient. We need to bring that back in spades, so to say. I mean, for this offense, he should obviously get the death penalty for taking her life. He's been a drain on society. He's hurt so many people, and Democrats want him out and about. I mean, what if we get 2-strike in the United States? You get 2 strikes. Is that too lenient? 2 strikes and you're jailed for life. Especially when it comes to hurting other people like this. I mean, this is what he did was just not just morally vacuous, is evil. Deranged. Now you also have Plebhead said inconvenienced since a large African American woman simply turning away on her phone, which got 2.2 thousand likes. Ginger Beard Gage parody count. There's a picture of him when the Democrats are blind. It's a Bart Simpson meme or meme. Then you have Dana Penny choking out the Jordan Neely, who's a lifetime criminal, saving people in that subway train. And Democrats are all looking at them with a telescope, getting 2,000 likes. Dr. Lucine Wolf commentary count. There's a picture of Jim from The Office pointing at the whiteboard. And he's pointing to Daniel Penny. He says, quote, "If you stop a violent black man, you make national news." Then it says, if you stop a violent black person, you don't, getting 837 likes. Let's see here. No, he says, if you are a violent black man, you don't, getting 837 likes. My dyslexia, if I have it, acting up again. No Context Videos has a picture of Pee Wee Herman looking at his watch in a field. It says, waiting for Democrats with Ukrainian flags in their bio to condemn the murder of a Ukrainian girl by a black man, getting 1,000 likes. Truth Unfiltered says this should enrage you, and it's her looking very timid and intimidated and scared while this ginormous piece of shit is standing over her. I forget in the video if that is before or after he stabs her. That got 1.4 thousand likes. Donald John Herbert says we don't have to live like this. It also says Democrat policies will effing kill you. Get 1.3 thousand likes, which, yep. Mike Larson, now he makes this racial. He actually has a picture, or he highlights all the attendees, not the attendees, the passengers. And it says Black Solidarity, 5 people have seen 0%, or 5 black people have seen, 0% helped. And so, yeah, one guy literally walked right past her when she's bleeding to death. Got 221 likes. Her name was Ira Zarutska, which Lord knows I can't pronounce things today. Definitely not trying to mispronounce it intentionally. You also have Prophecy 13 says, the reason no one helped is because it's a train full of the same kind of animals. They're incapable of empathy or compassion, getting 1.7 thousand likes, which I don't know if they're referencing city folk or it's a racial thing, which I don't think it's a racial thing because I know people of all races who would have actually stepped in and intervened and did the right thing in this situation. A lot of people, and I'm not alone in this analysis. A lot of people talked about when you live in congestion areas and cities, you have there's a specific fancy cultural scientific term, the diffusion of responsibility, and that's why as a kid when you take health classes back when they actually taught useful things, if anyone were to be injured, someone was before you render aid to that person, you're supposed to point to someone specifically to say you call 911 for help, and then you start to help the injured person. And that's because if you just ask the crowd, generally, then no one would do it. If you point specifically at a person, then, it's actually quantifiable action right there. And for some reason, after all these years, I still remember that health class lesson. And yeah, I don't know if cities are ever actually going to get any better or people will vote differently. Because again, this is also a political thing. Piece of shit was out of jail 14 times. I would argue that's 12 times too many. One more. Desiree says she did not die. She didn't just die. She bled out alone on American soil. While people looked and did nothing. It's not a failed system. It's a failed culture. And we either turn this around or we lose everything. Gave 1.4 thousand likes. Agreed. So, and again, I debate, and let me know in the comments if you even find this, if you like the more controversial content interesting. Again, I always feel weird when I cover these types of issues. That's why I kind of wait a couple days, but let me know your thoughts, because as always, be fascinated to hear what you have to say. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to tune in today. Again, try to get to 6,000 subscribers by the end of the month, so you click that button. I greatly appreciate it. Also, give me a thumbs up, thumbs down, and a comment. It's a great way to give me some additional feedback, letting me know how I can make the show better and better. Lastly, don't forget to take time to tell your family, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, heck, tell your enemies, tell anyone, everyone. Just stay safe and fight the good fight.